Radio check, radio check. Work is in KO. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the stream. Glad you joined us today for a really short, really late drawing stream. I have a lot to apologize for, especially because I was unable to announce the fact that I was not streaming yesterday. Well, technically speaking, I was supposed to not stream, but ISP issues prevented me from announcing ahead of time that I was taking a day off from the stream. And now that I was supposed to start streaming at my usual time today, I ran into something that I had to prioritize first, and now here we are, really, really late. I don't think any of the usual people are here today, which is a really, really bad thing on my part. I'd like to apologize for all of that and all the late stuff and all the fact that we're not gonna be able to stream long today. Honestly, I'm just gonna stream some of my final last touches for these add-ons for stuff I'm gonna add to my VOD thumbnails in the near future. Hopefully I can actually finish this within the time limit I assigned to allotted to myself, rather. So if you remember, probably around a couple of months ago by now, I was actually doing this and supposed to do an extra 2 more. I kind of ran out of ideas, and I kind of rationalized to myself that these 3 would be enough to add on to thumbnails. They're more like for information purposes anyway, and adding an extra might not be advisable right now. Pretty much like extra work when you can just work with what we already have. You might remember that this was just a bunch of lines the last time we did a drawing stream with these guys. So since I had to wait most of supposed free time yesterday trying to get the ISPs, or rather waiting for the ISPs update on their line fixing issues, I pretty much just spent most of that time coloring. And as you can clearly see, most of the flat colors are done. I also managed to get some shading put into effect. It kind of got lazy a little bit halfway and just went to bed, waiting for the ISP to return. Then took a couple more hours after I got finished with the flat colors for this before the ISP did manage to fix whatever they were supposed to fix. I have a sneaking suspicion that somebody was finagling with the... Well, I had the sneaking suspicion that somebody was finagling with the lines again. And by the lines, I mean the cables. Pretty common around here, actually. Which is probably why they had to spend most of the day getting things fixed. Because they had to find a spool long enough to replace whatever was missing. Of course, that's just speculation. It's entirely possible that it was a network-wide issue and I just didn't get anything because I was disconnected from the network for most of the day. Now, what do we want to do? Rather, where was I? We already finished the head, technically speaking. It's not going to be super detailed since this is pretty much SD. Pretty much SD style. I know it's not exactly top quality SD style drawings, but I think it's good enough for my kind of for my needs. Let's shut it there. No need to put a neck here because we're looking at it from below. And neck's already covered by the normal suit's neck guard. Now, where do we go first? Oh yeah, should fix the tongue mouth bit. Maybe. Not, not the tongue. I don't think the teeth, though. Gonna need some shadowing for that. Please. Or rather, standard is always 79% opacity. Adjusted for multiply. I just need to remember how I got my don't forget the block alpha, or rather inherit alpha, that I don't have to worry about. Overlapping colors coming up on the final product. That's a little too big. I think I'll have to fix that. Yeah, no, that doesn't work. So yeah, how was your day? On top of the network issues I had, I also had to deal with the extremely humid weather. Pretty much that time of the year after all. I hope you're not having the same terrible weather as I am. And you're not worrying about really sweating and all that. Or even worse, getting dehydrated. I had a bit of a scare with that because it was really, really hot after I streamed the other day, and because I had to keep my windows closed because of some stuff happening outside for most of the stream. I also had to keep my doors closed. So by the time I ended stream the other day, I felt a bit nauseous. I thought I was gonna pass out. Luckily, I had some water ready and cold enough to cool me down. Otherwise, I might have suffered some serious heat exhaustion. You know how bad that is in this current era. Heat strokes, definitely not something you should overlook. Alright, now how do we go about this? It's a little too blue, I think. We should use it. So I pretty much picked up the 79% opacity plus a multiply for shading from a senior in streaming area and also in art. You might recognize Atya Tepes, the Vampire Shrimp VTuber that I collabed with a little over a week ago. I pretty much pick up most of my drawing skills from her. Or rather, most of the drawing skills I learned recently from her, as well as a couple of mutual friends we share. We're really good at this kind of stuff. So I try to take whatever stuff, or rather, whatever advice they give, apply it to my own style. You know, I've been really, really terrible at applying that. Add something. Let's see. No, I don't think that's needed. Oh, excessive there. How about just this part? Speaking of Atya Tepes, if you checked her, if you checked her schedule, she actually did a Half-Life proposing for stream yesterday, which I kind of missed because of the internet issues again. If you're pretty much interested in seeing Corporal Shepard, her play of Corporal Shepard, you might want to check that out. Half-Life Off-4 is a really interesting game with a very interesting single-player campaign. I actually, honestly, haven't played single-player Half-Life, or rather single-player Off-4 at all. Most of the single Half-Life 4 games I've done were usually just multiplayer, shooting the wind type games, like pickup basketball game stuff. Just like that was back when I was in high school. People in the local computer cafe would usually just jump into a Half-Life game and play for random stuff, not on a competitive level. You know, I would just join in once in a while. I don't remember playing at Op 4 as the Black Mesa Scientist faction, and my favorite model, if I remember correctly, was called the Hazard Suit Scientist one, where it was a Black Mesa Scientist in a big CBRN suit that looks like a giant beam. I know the models back in those days didn't really have any effects or special stats depending on which character you used, unless you were playing Team Fortress Classic. They had different stats depending on which character class you were playing. But it was just really funny seeing a bunch of scientists in hazard suits running against Marines while trying to burn them down with incendiary grenades. Incendiary? I think I'm mixing up my weapons. Anyway, this is just a long-winded attempt to promote Akitepe's Half-Life Opposing Force stream. I do believe she's also done Blue Shift over the past weekend. And it's pretty much one of the other Half-Life side stories that I have not touched at all. Pretty interesting POV, considering that you're pretty much playing as Barney, working alongside some of the scientists and most of the other Black Mesa security staff, surviving the Resonance Cascade incident. Okay, so Teeth's done. We go next. Do I need to do stuff for the time? I feel like I really don't. Let's try though. Hair Alpha, Odin 97, 559. See it here. Gradient. Okay, that looks a bit nice. A bit more texture there, I suppose. Yeah, that should be enough. Not too much, not too detailed. This isn't type drawing you need details for, after all. That's done. Do anything with the tears? I think I want to keep them as is. Hang on a second. Let me just get my reference here. Nope, no need to do anything about that, thankfully. Next up. So we don't need to do anything about tears as is. Probably could use some more mixing on the colors here. And where's my regular ink? Yep. Finishing that part. Now this is intended. I know they're not exactly on the same length. I don't want to put a bit difference there, just so that it's not a monotonous appearance. Now it's time for the annoying part, which is providing shadows for the hair. The rather weird appearance of shadows in the original line is mostly because I had some weird lighting, weird ideas for lighting. And you can clearly see that there's supposed to be something right here. Not sure if I want to do that again. So we're gonna do something else for the hair right now. First, we're gonna have some shadows here in the ones in the back. And we'll decide later if we want to add some sheen again or just go back to. We can either add some sheen again or just keep it flat. But considering how things go, adding sheen might be a better idea just to give the hair a bit more life, so to speak. I do kind of like the shadow, the eroge protagonist's appearance here, though. Not as dark as the original art, which I think might need a brush up in the future, near future rather. I'd have to change some of the way the shades appear, not so much the coloring. Oops, wrong color. Okay, so the color should be here. Okay. No. Oh, it's because I'm in normal mode. Got that. There you go. Gotta fix this part as well. So it should be something like this. Question mark? Yeah, that should be good enough. Now we gotta do something like this. You know, I actually had the hankering to play some Hearts of Iron 4 upstream because I was really, really curious on what will happen once we've secured most of South America. But I had to stop myself in the last second because I'd rather see that, or rather show that on stream than skip that over. My own personal pleasure. Because I do believe it's going to start to be, rather going to get some more interesting stuff once we've secured most of North America and captured South America as well. And then there's also the fact that we still have to worry about the greater part of Europe, and we still have to rescue that other motorized division still stuck in North Africa. It's just, I'm like I was really tempted to just go ahead and do it on my own. I figured at the last second that some people would rather see that on stream than just me, and rather just listen to me talk about it as if it was an off-screen moment. Hopefully I'd be able to get some time off to actually go ahead with that in the near future. I still have to do the planned thumbnail editing thing. I think I did that wrong. definitely wrong. Gotta erase this eraser. Gotta fix that again. No, I'd love to just copy that and then put the shading here, but it's not gonna work. Different hairstyles and all. Let's see what I need to do. Something doesn't feel right there. I think I just ran out of stuff to talk about. That's a bad idea. Let's just talk about how bad the lines are on this. You have to remember the line art, or the line pen I used was ink pen 4 rough. Give it a bit more texture. But looking at it at close range now, it kind of feels like I was using a piece of charcoal for that. I feel bad about it. Nope. Should it's here. Hang on a second. How about this? Yeah, I think that could work. Oh god. You know what? I think it's really bad that I'm paying too much attention to this when it's just supposed to be some sort of placeholder art or thumbnails. But the other people say that I really shouldn't overthink the kind of stuff that I draw, but it's just a really bad habit of mine that I can't really get rid of. Like, I'm not supposed to compare myself to other people, especially the guys I ask for drawing advice to, since they've pretty much done this as a career for most of their lives, and I'm just somebody who draws as a hobby. So I'm still, still looking to turn this into a side career if possible. And most of my drawing, most of the stuff I want to draw aren't exactly the type of stuff that most people would want to commission. So I don't know how viable turning this into a side career really is. Fish my eyes. Excuse me. Just had to stretch. Even if it's currently having a bit of a slight drizzle right now, where I am, it still feels really freaking hot. But it did say it's around 31 degrees right now. Despite the fact that it is 31, it's raining. which means the humidity is absolutely awful. Not exactly looking too good. Oh, that's a little too round. You know, I actually haven't done anything that could be uploaded to my Pixiv in a while. I feel kind of bad. Wonder if they're checking my account and wondering where I went. I haven't uploaded anything from there in 2 months. I hope it doesn't get deleted or get marked as inactive or something to that effect. Time for cleaning good. And there is one thing that's good about the weather is that it's surprisingly easy to fall asleep because of the humidity for some reason. Even though it is a bit uncomfortable to try to sleep, once you actually get you snooze up, you just go and sleep for the rest of the night. It's kind of bad because I still need to at least finish the coloring here. Oops. Nope. Nope. No, actually that works a bit. So we're just gonna have to add some brightness over here. Just double check. Let me just check my references. Share Shibu. Did they change the logo for Pixiv again? Or is it just me being a bit of a latecomer? Ah, so that's what I'm missing. Yeah, I should do that. Maybe not. I could probably. No. Let's just take it as this. I'm gonna keep the sheen here. For the time being, let's just do some more shadows here on the back. shadows on this part. That should work. Now let's add some more stuff here on the side. Lower end of the hair segment. No, I kinda miss holding an actual Famicom controller. The rather flat-looking Famicom one. Flat, chocolate-shaped one, rather than the gray one that they actually sold in the West. Since we didn't have to worry about complaints of rather the fallout of the video game crash at 83, they didn't sell any of the NES models here, and they usually just sold most of the original Famicom kits. So there were a large number of rip-offs that were popular here when I was a kid. And they were obviously rip-offs, even though they had most of the markings of their original. But looking back on it now, a lot of them had obvious sign that they were fakes that just had the copies of, rather copied some of the actual appearance of Famicom. But anyway, I do miss holding this controller in my hand, playing stuff on Famicom. I remember the early Famicom models had their controllers connected permanently to the console, as opposed to the later types of Famicom era, or rather Famicom inspired consoles, and rather unauthorized copies that had the controllers being detachable via adapters, which I think was mostly because stuff they picked up from later consoles, like I believe the PS1 or the PSX maybe had detachable controllers back in the day, or rather, were they the first controllers, or were they the first consoles that had detachable controllers? Let me double check. Maybe some of the Atari controllers were not integrated. I was already a little too young for Atari controllers. I do know that some Atari consoles actually made it here in my country, but that was long before my time. Okay, so the Atari controllers were detached or integrated as well, so it was just an industry standard back then. Seems like a bit of a hassle storing stuff like that, especially when you have to remember that the controls for the Atari were really big sticks. Compare that to the controllers on the Famicom and the NES. Were pretty thin and had their D-pads, which meant that they didn't have to worry about the actual joysticks. So storage was pretty easy. You could just put them on some the integrated controller slots on the side of the console itself. Oh, dang it. Nope, 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 nope. Okay, that's a bit wrong. They had joysticks. I don't remember anybody from my general area who actually managed to own a Nintendo 64. Only kind of gotten any knowledge of the 64 when I was in high school. Long after the 64 kind of fell off the radar, mostly. Discontinued. Oh, okay. But basically, the 64 kind of died before I hit high school, just a bit. So when I first learned about how the 64's controller was a mix of D-pad and joystick, a little before the rise of DualShock, I was probably around. I only learned about it when I was already used to the DualShock controller. So when I saw the 64's controller for the first time, I kind of thought to myself, how are you supposed to hold the joystick on that when it was in the middle? Which is funny because apparently the DualShock was first implemented late 90s. It's probably just because most of the classic bits of hardware really only came here on a 5-year delay. Still, when you compare how the DualShock works to the or the DualShock's layout works to in comparison to the 64, at least back in those days, I was still pretty much confused because DualShock joysticks were pretty much on the same, rather in a set of more ergonomic positions because you could just move your thumbs from the D-pad and the face buttons easily. But with the 64, you had to take one hand off of the D-pad or face button layout. I think the D-pad was the originator of the claw grip, but I could be pretty much wrong on that though. I don't know where I was going with that, but I just probably kind of got distracted by the joystick attachments on later controllers. Now, I don't think I'm going anywhere proper with this setup for the shadows. I think I'm just gonna stick this here. Okay, that helped a bit. No shadows on that part of town. Okay, I think that should be enough now. go here now. Get these strands of hair in shadow mode. Now, it's not exactly a good thing. Rather, I think it's not exactly a good habit to put all of these on the same layer. The coloring and the lines, I mean, but it's just mostly because they're they're SD type drawings that I'm doing. Otherwise, they'd be on different layers and different sets of colors. This is just for I call it. This is just for simplicity's sake. Just being pretty lazy about all this. Goodness for inherent alpha. Otherwise, this would have been a messy job. Mostly because of overlaps and all. I mean, if you look at it from the piece of the shadowing there. That's just me, I'm really just sloppy with this kind of work. Else could go here. Couple more bits and pieces of the hair here would be nice. I mean, bits and pieces of shadow in that part of the hair. And let's keep that off. Keeping that off. No shadows here, but probably somewhere on the hair. You know, I should really probably do more drawing streams in the future. At least in the near future. I haven't had a lot of practice, really. I told myself I'd be doing at least one drawing piece a month. At least twice. I've been really reneging on that promise. Rather, that target for the longest time now. Kind of bad about that. Since there's a lot of things that pop up every now and then, I really shouldn't. Because there are a lot of things that are out of control, out of my control, which keeps me from actually being able to do more. Ow. Hey, whoops. What else do I need to finish here? Oh, nothing knows the time. We gotta, I think the only thing we can do here is a couple of hair strands and then, probably some bits and pieces of shadowing on the suit itself. The rest I'll have to finish off stream when things quiet down a bit. I will try to make a long stream tomorrow, but it's not probably. It's highly dependent on what or how much extra. I don't know how much extra time I can actually clock in tomorrow. If I had more time, I'd probably go and do actual thumbnail editing stream, or a thumbnail editing stream tomorrow. But if things don't go that luckily, I'll probably try and do another Hearts of Iron forum stream, so we can finally take over South and North America, and eventually attempt to rescue the African front, or probably break through to Europe instead. And if things go south on that, and I might have to do a different playthrough. So I honestly really should get back to Motorsport Manager or Super Robot Wars. And there's also Pero, and it's still pretty much in need of some love. I just got a little lazy getting those games up to speed. Partially because I'm lazy, and partially because I'm distracted by other stuff that I need to. So hopefully I can get back to them in the near future. Alright, that's one set of hair strands done. It's for shadows. Quietly. And some. Maybe that's a little excessive. Let's see what happens when it lines in. You know, there is one thing that I can say is a pro of being a bit disconnected to the internet for at least quarter of the day. You get some extra time to sleep, and you really can't do anything else. I know I should be reading some more of my Japanese conversation books. I kind of put them in a storage area that's a bit too hard to reach, so I spent most of the time waiting for the internet to come back, catching up on some snoozing, which isn't exactly a bad thing most of the time, but when my sleep schedule is already as whack as it is, yeah. Maximum no opacity. Have a look. I suppose. Yeah, okay, let's keep it that way. Yeah, right. Speaking of sleep schedule, I think I'm gonna pass out soon. These lines out. Okay, let's just keep it that way. Oh, whoops. No. Should be enough. Where do you three guys come from? Look, is. Yeah, I suppose that could work. We had to cut this part. That should be enough now. Yeah, let's keep it that way. And I guess I won't be able to actually do any on-stream finish up, rather cleanup work on the shading for the pilot suit, the accessories, and the belt, and this rate too slow. Not exactly acceptable streamer behavior considering the plans I had laid out. Just finish this and be on our merry way. Excuse me. Too flat. Flat. This should be enough for this one. Back in something to feel over here. Much as I'd like to continue this, I probably shouldn't. I let a freaking crash. Shining at a late stream like this was a bad idea. Failing to actually complete anything was just as bad there. Let me just finish up on the shadows. Probably get something. And something else. That's not gonna work either. No, that doesn't work either. I think I'll keep it as is. Although I feel like there's still something I can do for these spikes in the back. Just don't know what. This doesn't work properly, I think. Yeah, from this angle. Nope. No, that doesn't work. I think this is fine as it is. Find that same machine. It's relying too much on. Okay, I think that works. It's hard to decide. I feel like there's still something I can do with the hair. I feel like it only works as it is. Well, you know what? I think I'll leave that for another day. Not on stream, of course. Rather, not on stream, unfortunately. Gotta do something else. That. I'm just glad I actually managed to finish the flat colors for this one. Just a tiny bit of editing, rather shading, and probably some sheen here and there, and things should be good. Honestly, I just want to do it 80 style, so it fits with the ideas I have. Yeah, it's kind of jarring to do 80 style when you have a drawing tablet there. Well, whatever the case, I do have to apologize, but I do have to call it in for the day. Thank you so much for joining me in this really short and really late stream. Once again, I apologize for failing to provide the proper notifications at the expected times. Yesterday was beyond my control. Today, I could have done a better job of providing an earlier warning about sudden extra stuff I had to do on the stream time. I will endeavor to rectify that next time I have sudden changes in my schedule that I have to handle at the last second. Or at least we, at the very least, I mean, did manage to do some more coloring here and there. In the very near future, I will use these assets to make thumbnails for the stuff I've already done, streams I've already done. Hopefully, that could also mean that I can use them for streams that I will do for streams that I will do or schedule before I, where's I going? I will be able to use them for scheduled streams on a different streaming platform, where thumbnails for planned streams are required. Yeah, that's what I was going with. Might need to have more drawings for that in the future, but something I have to look into when the time comes. With all that being said, if you got any complaints or valid reactions about the stream today, you can always drop me a line on my Twitter or my Pixiv. If you've got a hand cream for the older streams I've already done and have already expired here on Twitch, you can always check the VOD archive linked on the About tab of my profile page. If you got speaking of my profile page, if you got a friend who might be interested in stuff I stream, just wants to complain about Twitch streamers that use PNGs in general, you can always share my profile, twitch.tv/lurking@work. It's all from me for now. I think I'm going to crash on for a bit. I have to go all the way with that though, to get some extra snoozes. Tomorrow, it might be another foray into South America. It could be something else, who knows. But hopefully I can actually stream at my actual time. And by then, we might be doing another long one. Till then, though, work is RTV. Thanks again for watching. See y'all when I see y'all. Good night, everybody.